Namaste. Welcome to this session. We are considering the obstacles, antarayas, yogantarayas, samadhyantarayas. Now we are coming to the antaray called Alabdha bhumikatva. And it gives a reminder when we come to this particular obstacle that we should be aware of the fact that we are considering yogantarayas, samadhyantarayas. These are antarayas for samadhi. These are not actually the antarayas spoken about for which are for you and me in our yoga. So we must understand this with respect to every antaraya that has been spoken of and that will be spoken of, right from vyadi, sthana, etc. What is spoken of in the text is not the obstacles of yoga that you and me encounter. This must be borne in mind. And from what is being mentioned, we can infer how we have our obstacles in yoga. So this is the place where obstacles to samadhis are being mentioned, and particularly asamprajn samadhi, generally samprajn asamprajn samadhi. And now we must take review of all obstacles in two dimensions. One is how it is obstacle to us. If disease like thing happens, how it is an obstacle to our yoga. So this has to be inferred, extrapolated. This is not really mentioned. And we tend to look at the obstacles by ourselves being at the center of it and look at it, how vyadhi is antaraya, how sthana is antaraya, how samshaya is antaraya, how alasya is antaraya, etc., etc. So that would be quite natural. That would be quite natural that we put ourselves at the center of it and then try to look at all obstacles. So that can be done and there is nothing wrong in it, but we should not lose the advertence that what is really being commenced here is samadhyantarayas, antarayas of samadhi, and this reminder comes quite starkly in the comment to this obstacle by Vyasa. So Alaldhabhumikatva literally means not attaining the expected plane, expected bhumi plane for various reasons. The reasons could be various. Like either one doesn't deserve or one is not qualified, one is not sufficiently empowered, one is not capable, one is not capacitated. So many things can be looked at here. When one is not attaining what is expected to be attained, what should be attained, what may be attained. So that is Alaldhabhumikatva. Incapacity to attain. Attain what? Attain the expected plane. Now here particularly, not getting the plane of samadhi, the launch of samadhi. So we have to consider the reasons why the plane of samadhi is not attained by a yogi. And then we can look at ourselves and say, and see why is it that we are not attaining expected yoga from us. So this is a obstacle which makes us little inquisitive about why is it that we are not reaching expected plane or not getting to expected level of yoga. So here Vyasa clearly says, Alaldhabhumikatvam samadhi bhumi alabha. not attaining the bhumi, the plane which bestows the samadhi, or it is unattained condition or unattainability of samadhi, or samadhi not attained. Then why? This is the obstacle. So when it is not attained, that means we have to also understand that one is qualified but not attaining. One is capable but not attaining. One is capacitated but not attaining. One is deserving but not attaining. One is expected to get but not getting it. So it's not just not getting it, because we might not get it for several reasons. Why is it that you are not able to touch the sky? So here we have to understand that what are the factors whereby one should be getting it, what one is expected to get. So here one is expected to get samadhi, but is not getting samadhi bhumi, and we have to understand the factors because of which the samadhi bhumi is not attained. So Vachaspati Mishra tells us more precisely what is being said here. In Yogi, that means he makes it more clear that Yogi has attained samprajnat plane, samprajnat samadhi, but is not attaining asamprajnat samadhi. This is what really is being mentioned. Reference is primarily to this. Why is it that asamprajnat samadhi is not attained? That means it deems that samprajnat samadhi has been attained, but asamprajnat samadhi is not being attained. So this is what really the sutra is trying to divulge and make a mention of. Therefore, Vachaspati Mishra in his Tattva Vaishardi more precisely, perfectly says Madhumati adi are bhumis. Madhumati adi are bhumis. So madhumadhyadayaha samadhi bhumayaha. So these are the samadhi bhumis. So this is what the science tells us. There are bhumis mentioned in the tradition of yoga. Madhubhumi, Madhumati. So there are various bhumis which will be coming across. Now when you attain that bhumi, you are supposed to be, that means you have attained something and you have something to attain. So that what it mentions. Say for example, if you have a BA degree in academics, it implies that you have education up to BA, but you do not have anything beyond BA. So what is it that if somebody is holding a graduate degree, BA, BSc, BCom, that means the person has attained the education up to the point of getting graduated, and there is the degrees beyond BA are not attained. That is, it shows what is attained and what is not attained. So just as we are aware of these degrees, somebody has done primary education. That means up to primary has been done and beyond primary not done. Somebody has done secondary education. That means up to secondary has been done and beyond secondary is not done. Somebody has done higher secondary, means up to higher secondary has been done and beyond higher secondary is not done. So this kind of basis for comprehension is given by Vachaspati Mishra, Madhumatyadayaha Samadhi Bhumayaha. So when Vyasa says Samadhi Bhumi not attained, because what he says is Alaldhabhumitatva Samadhi Bhumi Alabdha is what Vyasa says. So he brings the word Samadhi Bhumi. Now Samadhi Bhumi means what? Vachaspati clarifies this. Madhumadyadayaha Samadhi Bhumayaha. So we will have to understand these bhumis. To understand this sutra here and the term here, the terminology here, it is expected that we understand these Samadhi bhumis which are mentioned in the tradition of yoga. And they are Madhumatyadi. Madhumati Adi are the bhumis. And not attaining those bhumis is said to be this kind of obstacle, Antara. Then Nagoji Bhatta, he says, sadhana anusthana and samadhi bhumi, both not attained. But there is anusthana for any level of yoga. There are several levels of yoga, just as we have levels in academics: pre-primary, primary, secondary, higher secondary, undergraduate, graduate, postgraduate, doctoral, postdoctoral. As we have these various levels, there are levels in yoga. We should be aware of this. Otherwise, we are not aware of it. We just understand in terms of number of years put in. Somebody has done 10 years of yoga, somebody has done 25 years of yoga, somebody has done 50 years of yoga. So that's how we have the idea, or to decide on seniority. So Nagoji Bhatta makes it clear. Alaldhabhumikatvam sadhana anusthane vakshamani madhumatyadi anyatama bhumirapi alabha. He further expands. So even the anushtanam is not attained. One is not able to attain that level of sadhana which we discussed on an earlier occasion in a sutra where we were told about Mrudu Upaya, Madhyama Upaya, Adhimatra Upaya, and then Mrudu Samvega, Madhya Samvega, Tivra Samvega. So we were told about the level of means and level of intensities. So we need to get back the memory of what was discussed then. That there are mild means of yoga, middle means of yoga, and vehement means of yoga. That is Mrudu, Madhya, Adhimatra. And then in each case there could be even samvega, intensity. Somebody might be in mild intensity, somebody might be in middle intensity, somebody might be in high intensity. So now the purport of the sutra is being opened out gradually as we look into these commentaries. And therefore it is important to look at what Nagoji Bhatta says, the sadhana anusthana, that means the level of means. If you have not gone to middle means, that means you are deprived of getting yoga of that level. So our level of practices and our intensity of practices. So absence of that level, if you are not really gone to the level, there is no chance that you will be getting yoga of that level. So that is absence of, or the level on which one needs to do yoga. And then also the samadhi bhumi, which Vyasa himself has clearly mentioned, which are Madhu, Madhumati, Madhupratika, etc. Then in the Chaya Vritti, he says, Nagoji Bhatta says, Alaldhabhumikatvam sadhananusthane vakshamana madhumatyadi anyatama bhumirapi alabha. So that's really the essential meaning of Alaldhabhumikatva. Now we are in neither of those planes, Madhumati, Madhupratika, etc., levels of yoga which are traditionally mentioned. No, we are nowhere near there, but that we have something which is not attained. So for us there are other bhumis, not as much as that person. I'm not advanced to the extent of that person in yoga. So this is what we have comparisons. I am little superior to this person in yoga. I am inferior to that person in yoga. So we try to have our own placement, and therefore we have our own bhumis. Or in other words, we say I am a beginner, I am intermediate, I am on the intermediate level. Then there may be so many levels that we can have imaginary levels: beginner, intermediate, advanced, senior, advanced, etc., etc. So that's why he says anya bhumi, anyatama bhumi also, because there are so many bhumis, notional, prevalent in practitioners of yoga. So with that introduction, now let's try to have further more investigation about this non-attainment kind of obstacle. Non-attainment is always an obstacle. That means you expect something and you don't attain, then you are dispirited. You lose your enthusiasm. You consider yourself to be failure. You think you have failed. And that is because expected plane was not attained. So, Alaldhabhumikatva is non-attainment. Non-attainment, the very word implies that you had expectation to attain it, others expected that you would attain it, you had worked to attain it, you had put your endeavor to attain it, but you have not succeeded. So, lack of success also can be the meaning that we can derive. Or our progress stops. Our progress has been thwarted. Now we can't make any progress hereafter. That means we are not able to reach those goals, because we are now in a condition that our progress has stopped. We are not progressing, we can't be progressing, and therefore we cannot be going to Uttarottara Bhumi. We can't go to subsequent levels. So that's how we can understand on our plane. Now, Alaldhabhumikatva is very interestingly, understand, it is of two kinds: Vikalpatmaka and Vastavika. Vikalpatmaka means it is our notion that we are not able to attain. We have not attained and we are not able to attain. It's a notion, a vikalpa. And the other one is Vastavika. The other one is real. That is, I really cannot attain it. I think I cannot attain it is one kind of non-attainment. I think I can never be attaining it is one kind of non-attainment. And then real condition that I really cannot be attaining it. So we know the factors as to why we are not able to attain it. We understand the shortcomings, we understand the deficiencies, we have identified something as deficiencies. So for us, this unattainability is reality. or it could be unattainability as an imagination, vikalpatmaka. See, when you lose your self-confidence, it happens. You start identifying something not attainable, not attainable. So when you lose your self-confidence, you start developing a mental notion or mental idea that I cannot be reaching that plane, a particular plane. I cannot be putting my foot on that step. I cannot be stepping onto that plane. So you think that step is unattainable. It is because you have idea in the mind that you can't be attaining it. So it's notional non-attainability and factual real non-attainability. So there are these two kinds of things. So for us to really understand non-attainability, we are given some analysis and we have given some the gateway to really investigate into it, whether it is really real non-attainability or is it notional non-attainability or imaginary non-attainability. And then what happens when you have this non-attainability at sight? So it comes inside the horizon for you, and now you see that it is not attainable, or it is not attained and not attainable. Then it is certainly going to leak out your enthusiasm, leak out your fervor for long time practices. Because Patanjali has told us, Satudirgha kala nairantariya. So for a long duration, and then also consistency in practices needs a motivation, spiritedness. Now, if you cite the non-attainability inside the horizon, naturally you will be punctured. Your enthusiasm will be punctured. Your spiritedness will be punctured. Your fervor will be punctured. So, you will not be able to continue your practices positively, with positive mind. It might be habitually that you are continuing to do it, or you might do with a negative mind, but yet do it because now you have got addicted. If you recall, sometimes I told you that one gets addicted if somebody is practicing something for a long time. So despite knowing that I won't be progressing, yet the practice continues with a negative mindset. So you lose the positivity, what is called as sakaratmakata. You lose the nirantarata. You lose even consistency. So therefore, the breaks come now and then. Your practices are interrupted, and you lose that nirantarata, which Patanjali has mentioned that it should be there while he mentions about abhyasa. Satudirgha kala nairantariya. So also you lose satkara bhava, you will be losing. Once you know that you are not going to attain it, either notionally or really, notionally or factually, then naturally you will lose that satkara bhava. Because you are losing fervor, you are losing the enthusiasm. That means you also lose the satkara bhava. That means the reverentialness. You won't be carrying out your practice with some that required or which was there earlier, when you could think that you might attain it. The impossibility had not come within the horizon, inside the horizon. So since the impossible was beyond the horizon, you were still doing with that fervor, enthusiasm and even reverence. But when you counter this obstacle, that you start getting a feeling, or you understand, you realize that you are not going to attain it, naturally satkara bhava would be going away. So see how the characteristics of abhyasa mentioned earlier will be slowly dwindling and will be slowly getting uh, evaporated. So now you can understand the intensity and the fervor to continue yoga would be lost once you face this antaraya, once you face this obstacle that it is unattainable. So when this hits your mind, naturally your quality of practice and your priority for yogic practices dwindles and dissipates, and there is a depreciation. And then you can understand what is the chance of progress when you have lost this quality of the mind to do with some motivation, spiritedness, enthusiasm. When you have lost it, then you will know, you can certainly understand what is the chance of any progress now hereafter. Therefore, this is an obstacle. It might be notional unattainability or actual unattainability. It is an obstacle. So, then if it is an obstacle, now you can understand what is the chance of your yoga going further and further and further, or your yoga evolving. And the chance for yoga to evolve will be almost nil. You may continue to do your yoga with whatever depreciated priority. You might continue, but the priority will go down. As long as you expect that something may come, or impossibility has not come on horizon, it is still beyond the horizon for you, then you have the fervor to work enthusiastically. But once it comes within the horizon, then you know the depreciations in all forces. And then you will know that your yoga can, at some point in time, perhaps stop. Even if it does not stop, it is not going to go further. Even if it doesn't go further and if it doesn't stop, it will be slowly dwindling. We'll be slowly having waning practices. The waning aspects of yoga will slowly be waning within you. Now, this is something that will never keep any fervor, enthusiasm, motivation in you. So, that's how it is an antaraya. That is how it is an obstacle. Now, if it is, so we saw the two types. One is notional and the other one is actual. Now, this actual is because of what? The actual unattainability is because of you have not heightened your adhikara. You have not really taken the next step for qualification. You have remained where you were. And in that qualification, if you don't really upgrade your qualifications, you will know that certain things are unattainable. And therefore, it implies that you must be upgrading your qualification. And if you don't upgrade your qualifications to some fructifications, you are anadhikari. You don't qualify. You don't qualify. So, that is the real Alabdha bhumikatva. When you have not really upgraded your qualification, whereby you have now become anadhikari, non-qualified, unqualified, naturally you will be facing this actual Alabdha bhumikatva. So the measure to be taken here is that we must upgrade our qualification, we must increase our adhikara. Adhikara means level of qualification. So unless you do that, there is no chance that the unattainability will disappear. If you get your qualification, then unattainability will go away. Because you qualify to attain. While in case of Vaikalpika, Alabdha bhumikatva, that means imaginary, notional, unattainability. It must be really driven away. It should be driven away. So that unattainability should be driven away, blown away. But in case of the former one, the actual one, you can't be blowing it away because it is actual and it's real. So you will have to upgrade the qualification. So the first one, you have to do that. Understand your qualifications, understand your level of qualification, understand how it can be upgraded, what is upgrading the qualification, and if you take that measure, that step, the unattainability will go away. But in case of the imaginary one, the notional one, it must be swept away. It should be blown away. And if you don't do that, it will get reinforced. So the notional one is such, although it is unreal, it can get reinforced and become real. Now that's the danger in notional unattainability. If it stays and it is not blown away, it is not swept away, it is not driven away, then it will strongly get footed. And then it will actually become the real non-attainability. So notional will become real if you do not identify it and do not take measures which are of the nature of blowing it away, driving it away. So in that sense, it can become vastavika. The notional can become vastavika. The imaginary can become real. So we must identify whether it is really real or imaginary. The non-attainability, whether it is notional or it is real. And if it is notional, we must take steps and measures to blow it away, drive it away. Otherwise, it would become real. Once it becomes real, then you cannot do anything, because that's a real unattainability. So, this is an antaraya, this is an obstacle which gives room to na umedi. You lose the umed. You lose the umed means you lose the fervor. Now, if you lose the fervor in any practices, you sooner or later will be weaned away from practices, or the practices will go away from you. Either you will go away or it will go away. Practices go away or you go away. So that's why it is a dangerous kind of obstacle. And therefore you can even become yoga bhrashta. You can fall from yoga. Although you are not climbing down the hill, you will fall off the hill. There are two ways. One is to climb down the hill, and the other one is that you fall off the cliff. So understand how devastating it would be that if you really slip or you fall from the edge of a cliff on the mountain. So that is called, in one sense, yoga bhrashta. Now sometimes it happens after you have gone a long way in your endeavor. You have gone a long way, and then you face this obstacle, antaraya, of the nature of unattainability, and then see the devastating thing. So what you call figuratively as to miss the bus, it will happen, something like that. You have gone a long way, but because of this obstacle that you have confronted, you not only stop there, not only your progress is stopped, or your progression is stopped, or your advancement is stopped, but you fall off. So therefore, we need to be dreaded of this obstacle. See, if you have gone a short way and then you are asked to go back home, it's not a big problem. But if you have gone long way to your their destination and somebody says return from there, it is heartbreaking. And then it is exasperating. So this will happen, that you will explode with exasperation, which is so devastating. So by practice of yoga, you have gone quite a long way in your measures in understanding Vishaya Dosha Darshanam, understanding the faults of mundanity, the effects of mundanity, the bane of mundanity. So to great extent you have realized, and then you are again pushed back to the same mire. It is really heartbreaking. But if you had not really identified the bane of mundanity and then you realize how painful is mundanity, it's not a big problem. But after having realized the banefulness of mundanity, in your slippery, like as I said, you fall from a cliff. Then again you come back to that mundanity, you fall into mundane mire. It is heartbreaking, it is very exasperating. So understand what will happen to your chitta. So to some extent, you have developed nitya viveka, atmanatma viveka, sukha dukkha viveka. So I have gone to that heights, and then from there, not only that your progress has stopped, but then you are falling from. You will fall from that. As if you understand this obstacle, it is such a thing that it doesn't stop your progress, but it will make you fall, get a fall, or you yourself will fall. So therefore, then it is such a condition that you can't progress, and your path to return is also closed. When you have gone long way, there is no way that you can return. You have gone that way, that far. So then what is the fate? That your path to come back is also banned for you, and you cannot progress because you also have a ban to go further. So you can neither go further, neither go back. So this can also happen. Then you can understand how you are in a strangulated condition. And in particularly with reference to Vairagya, this has been mentioned. This is quite heartbreaking, that you can't, you have gone a long way. In your own judgment, you have gone a long way. But now the road is closed for you to go ahead, and then you can't even return. Because you have developed the wisdom, discrimination, nitya viveka, sukha dukkha viveka, atmanatma viveka. So you have attained something, but then you can't come back. So either you don't come back, or you will be pushed to take a fall or get a fall. So see how it can work. So with reference to Vairagya particularly, we have been warned by Moksha Shastra, the spiritual sciences, that you are neither here nor there. That's called Trishankvavastha, Trishanku. That means neither on the terrestrial plane nor in heavenly plane, but hanging somewhere in between. So you don't have your feet to touch the ground, and your hands cannot reach to higher plane to clinch on to. So you can neither clinch on, then what? It is really heartbreaking condition. So there is a wonderful subhashita, a wonderful statement of wisdom. Yasya moksha abhibano asti dehe api mata tatha nasa yogi nava bhogi kevalam dukkha bhagasau. So, yasya moksha abhimano asti, dehe api mamata tatha. That means you want liberation, you are seeking liberation, but still you are also having the attachment to your body. Now, this is half-hearted condition. This is something that is neither here nor there. He is neither a yogi nor a bhogi. And now understand the sorrow of one who is neither a yogi nor a bhogi. Because the bhogi will get whatever his pleasures and pains. The yogi will get whatever his pains and his pleasures. But when somebody is neither a yogi nor a bhogi, he is neither here nor there. Like in vernacular, there is a saying that the dog neither belongs to anyone, न घर का न घाट का. That's how the dog has been mentioned. So the dog is neither a street dog nor a domesticated dog. That dog has a horrible condition. So that's what happens to us. And in Vairagya, it more often this has been said to be happening. So here, yasya moksha abhimano asti. That means one is having liking towards a liberated state, moksha, etc., higher spiritual state. So one is interested in it, one is really aiming for it, one is having liking for it. But doesn't lose the attachment to corporeal, doesn't lose the attachment to body. This is heartbreaking. You must either be in the gravity of the body or you must be in the gravity of liberation. Now, if you are having pulls on both the sides, that means you are in tug of war. So you are pulled by that side, you are pulled by this side too. Then that is really heartbreaking condition. So that is what this Subhashita is telling us. Yasya moksha abhimano asti dehe api mamata tatha nasa yogi nava bhogi. Is neither a yogi nor a bhogi, neither he is a mundane person nor a spiritual person. You should be either mundane or you should be spiritual. But if you are neither spiritual nor mundane, it's a heart-breaking plight. So, in case of yoga neither attained nor bhoga attained, then it's a difficult condition in life. So it is also expressed in another way in Sanskrit. Idam nasti param cha upalabdhate. Idam cha nasti param cha upalabdhate. You neither attain this nor you attain that. You are somewhere stuck in between. You are hanging in between, you are stuck in between. So this is really heartbreaking condition. Then what is the way out? So the culture of yoga says best way is to do with nirapekshata. If you do with expectations, then either you succeed or you fail. These are only two probabilities. Now both are painful in spirituality, because even if you succeed, you think success is successful or success is always successful. No, in spirituality, if you succeed, you will tend to get a superiority complex, megalomania. That's called megalomania. So that is a antithesis of your progress in spirituality. If you fail, you have heartbreaking conditions. So in both ways, you are going into danger zone. By success, you will go into complacency and megalomania, superiority complex, pride, arrogance, etc., they will crop up. And if you fail, then you are punctured. So, that is what happens in spiritual path. So, therefore, you must have sufficient velocity to escape the mundanity, and to whatever extent which will not create discomfiture in your life. It is not that we will escape mundanity totally and then be in the yoga. No, we will be in that twilight zone. But the mundanity will not create more problem whether you get it. Mundanity is bountiful or baneful, it really doesn't matter. So also, that transcendent condition is whether you attain or you don't attain, there is no heartbreaking condition, provided you are doing with nirapekshata. So there comes the philosophy of life. It will be keeping you safe. That you must do yoga with anapeksha vritti. You must be yoga tatpara. You must be steadfastly in yoga, but you should not be caught in the gravities of expectations. And then Ishwaranistha, Ananya Ishwaranistha. So therefore the Ishwar Pranidhan also how it comes handy, understand. That when you have faith in God, sufficient faith in God, success or failure both really do not bother you. So that's how is being mentioned here in Sutra. This is the core aspect of advice, that you must be doing nirapeksha vritti, with a nirapeksha vritti, nirapekshata, without any expectations. So that is a safe valve. Whether you attain or you don't attain, it really doesn't bother. So it should be done unselfishly, unexpectantly, and also done diligently, intently, what is called as yoga tatparata. And then with Bhagavad Bhakti, Ishvara Bhakti, Ishwar Pranidhana, the faith in divinity. So this will not shake you. And it will also prevent this obstacle from coming to sight. So this is what is the message of this Antara. I recall Mahabharata, the Shanti Parva, the 12th part of Mahabharata, Moksha Dharma Parva, therein. There you get a mention of the Dhyana Yoga. So that one should look into the text itself, because it is so important, so vital. I will just give you the gist of it. It says that the mind which is steadied along with senses, when it is steadied, yet you get like lightning in the thunder, like you get lightning in the sky. Otherwise, generally the sky is dark, black clouds, so it is all dark. But you suddenly see the lightning that comes. So lightning which comes during the night, when there is a storm. So the desire, etc., the vasana, etc., they appear like lightning. But lightning doesn't stay on. In thunder, the lightning doesn't stay on. It just comes and goes away. So similarly, while you are in dhyana, your mind, which is by nature fugitive, you will have these tendencies, vasanas, all these things coming like lightning. Don't be getting frustrated by that. So you should know that it's just a lightning like a thing. It comes, and when it happens, then all the objects of your passion, they manifest into your mind. Like when it is totally dark at night and suddenly there is lightning, then all the things become visible to you, the trees and whatnot, the things around. Similarly, the objects will appear to your mind although you are in dhyana. Because the mind is fugitive by nature. So the practitioner should not get dispirited. So while you are in dhyana, even if there is such disturbance in such form that the objects are appearing in your mind, do not get devastated, do not get angry, do not get frustrated. Just overlook, considering that this is just lightning that has happened in the sky, in the clouds, and therefore the things have become visible. And get back and remain in your meditative process. Not to lose the spiritedness. It should not frustrate you. It is frustrating thing, but it should not frustrate you. So not even to react to such things. If we react to such things, then we have lost the battle. So as if you are unafflicted by all that. The objects have come and gone, desires have come and gone, desires are coming, but see that you are not affected by those. This is what is advised in Shanti Parva. Continue your, as if you are unafflicted by all these disturbances. If you show your disturbance, that means you have lost your battle. If you have got the disturbance, you have not lost the battle. Hear this properly. If you have got the disturbance, you have not lost the battle. But if you have got disturbed, you have lost the battle. So not to lose the battle is important in Dhyana Yoga. That's how the Chitta Sthairya effort to be steady the Chitta will be fraught with all these things, and you must know that this is going to happen. This you can be expecting, although you are supposed to do yoga without expectation. Well, you should be anticipating that these things are going to happen, like lightning. Objects will come, they will trigger the desire in me, etc., etc. They will trigger my tendencies, etc. But you should be anirvinna, as if you are unafflicted, untouched. Although you are touched, you must assume the profile that you are untouched. So that is the very important message that comes in that passage. It won't be smooth passage. Yogic passage will not be bed of roses, that you will walk over the rose petals. No, it won't be happening like that. But yet you have to, like, a proficient actor plays a role of a sadhu, of a noble man. So from his face you will never see the sadhutva disappearing or waning. So we must put on that mask that you are not really agitated, you are not really afflicted, you are not really inflicted by any such disturbance. So this is that wonderful advice that has come in the passage. So the verses are very interesting, and these are advices which are coming from Bhishmacharya, because in Shanti Parva he is the Upadeshaka, he is the speaker of Shanti Dharma, he is the speaker of Moksha Dharma Parva. So these are very interesting verses, Smruti Ghatta passage. So I will just recite it for you. I have given the gist of it. Jalabindur yatha lola parnastha sarvataschalaha evamevasya chittam cha bhavati dhyana vartmani samahitam kshanam kinchit dhyana vartmani tishtati punarvayu patham bhrantam mano bhavati vayuvat anirvedo gataklesho gatatandri ramatsari Samadhayat punascheto dhyanena dhyana yogavit vicharascha vivekascha vitarkascha upajayate mune samadhanasya pratham dhyanamatitāh manasa klishyamanasthu samadhanam chakarayet na nirvedam munirgachet kurya devatmano hitam. So you have to behave as if you are a muni, enact a role that you are a muni. Internally you are disturbed, but play a role of as if you are muni and you are not disturbed by all this. Although you are disturbed, you are not disturbed. Then these obstacles will not play naughty games. Like children. Children, sometimes they harass their parents. Now if they react, the children take a joy and they consider that they have won the battle because they wanted to disturb you and you are disturbed. But then you have to pull on a mask that you are not at all afflicted. So after a while, the child loses the motivation to really continue its naughty game. Because it sees that you are not disturbed, you don't show on your face, you don't react, your face is as it is, you don't get angry, you don't get wild. When the child is playing this game, it's not that every time you should be like that to child's behavior. But sometimes the child is intending to trouble you, vex you. In that case, although you are vexed, show that you are not vexed. So the child will be discouraged to be vexing you further and further and further. It will stop on its own vexing. So this antaraya will stop vexing on its own once it sees that you are not seemingly or sufficiently vexed for it to get satisfaction, because that will be getting satisfied. If it is vexing and you get vexed, it is its success. So while in dhyana sadhana, this is so important. You sit for japa, your mind will be turbulent than otherwise it is, but still remain as if you are muni, enact a role of a muni who is never made angry. No one can make a muni angry. Whatever one might try, the muni is really in a balance. So similarly, put on a mask that you are not disturbed. This antaraya, if it is playing naughty games, it will be slowly weaned away from playing naughty games. So this is the piece of instruction which is very pertinent here for this antaraya. It comes in Shanti Parva, 195th chapter. Then, let it be as it may, that whatever we discussed so far. Now let's come to another fact here. Jara, Vyadhi are going to come to your embodiment. You can't be free from those. Now usually this Jara and Vyadhi are not distinguished. Jara is agedness and Vyadhi is disease. But the Karma Vipaka tells us the distinction between Vyadhi and Jara. Now this can be Karma Vipakatmaka, because these are all obstacles. And these are also disqualifiers. You get disqualified because of Vyadhi and Jara, old age and disease. So this is either Karma Vipakatmaka or Pramadatmaka. This is important piece of advice which comes from the wiser ones. Both the diseases can be actual diseases, real diseases, or natural diseases that they were to happen and they have happened, because the body at some point in time is going to get disease. You can't have diseaseless body actually and absolutely. It is going to happen sooner or later, here or there. But then the disease condition can also be pramadatmaka. The jara also can be natural. It is natural, but it can be also out of pramada. If you have overindulgence in your life, you overindulge with your passions and desires and sensory tendencies, sensual tendencies. So that will be pramada. So that also can rapidify the aging process and bring the vardhakya at an earlier point in time. That what is called as premature old age. So this can happen because of pramada as well. And then you know how these are disqualifiers. The bad health is a disqualifier to be in yoga. The vardhakya or the old age is also Alaldhabhumitatva in one sense. So we should take care to see that pramadatmak vipaka, pramadatmak jara really doesn't occur. Because in these states, your monobala, sharirabala, buddhibala, they all wane out. And then you can understand how you lose the resources to be in yoga or to be continuing your yoga. So, we are always and all of us are with a body. None of us are without body. And when body means the defect is there, which is mentioned by Bhagavad Gita, Janma Mrityu Jara Vyadi Dukkha Doshanu Darshanam, which was quoted on earlier occasion. This is the verse which comes in 13.8 in Bhagavad Gita. So that is one which is also a factor of Alabdha bhumikatva. It is because of that you don't attain. And the Upanishad also mentioned Nayamatma balahinena labhyaha. This Atma will not be attained by balahina person, one who has no bala. Bala means sharira bala, manasa bala, buddhi bala, chitta bala, samskara bala, all kinds of bala are there which we should be aware of. So when you don't have this bala, if you are weak in every aspect, or even if you are just weak in your body, you know how much is unattainability around you, or you are engulfed by it. So, Mundaka Upanishad in 3.2.4 mentions Nayamatma Balahinena Labhyaha. So that is also a factor of Alabdha bhumikatva. Vallabhacharya, one of the Vedantis, and his followers who wrote a commentary on Bhagavad Gita, they say Shakti Rasa itself is Jara. What is old age? Old age is not that you are so many years old, you are 60 years old, 70 years old, 80 years old, 90 years old, and therefore that is old age. No, old age is Shakti Ras, waning of your powers. The powers wane away. Right? May not be of that age, yet you might lose powers. And that itself is vardhakya. That itself is decay. Disease and decay are two conditions we know about the body. So when you lose the powers, Shakti Rasa, Balahinata, Balarhasa itself is Jara. I can recall even Madhusudana Saraswati, while commenting on Bhagavad Gita in his famous Gudhartha Deepika, Bhagavad Gita again 13.8, Prajna Shakti Teja Nirodha Para Paribhavadi Rupayaha. So he explains the Balahinata. When Upanishad says Nayamatma Balahinena Labhya, what is it? Is it physical power? Muscle power? No. Prajna Shakti Te Prajna Shakti Teja Nirodha paraparibhavadi rupayaha. That is what is lack of power. It's not just muscle power. So, therefore, we should understand how this Alabdha bhumikatva can engulf us, or how it can come from within us. So there is one kind of it which comes from outside and then engulfs us. There is one kind of which comes from within. Like we even saw the kalpanika, the imaginary notional, which is coming from within. So that is what this Vyadhi Jara conditions also to be noted. Anyway, there is little bit to be told about this, but let us not load it at this time. Let us upload our wisdom with that in our next session, where we are going to consider the Jnaneshwari, which mentions about the Vyadhi and Jara, which are the factors for Alaldhabhumikatva. So enough for the time being. Let us continue this in the next session. Namaskar all of you.